Hi everyone, welcome back to another video, another my take and another movie review and discussion. Of course, the sequel to The Matrix, and that's of course The Matrix Reloaded. And this is Evo Rainbow McLean for live once again. And of course, I do have the Ultimate Matrix collection, which I do have the box in my hand, which I actually showed last night in my video, which I actually got it. But I really love this book. Huge fan of those, huge fan of the Matrix films. And of course, this is the Blu-ray, which today I'm gonna review the sequel to the Matrix. And what can I say about the sequel? It's actually the Wachowskis who wrote and directed the first movie. They actually really did a risky move to do the sequel. And some of the sequels aren't that great, but this is really an excellent, underrated sequel. And I love this movie to death. Yes, I love the first and the second movie to death. And I'm not sure which is actually my favorite, because this is to me an epic science fiction action film, which it has martial arts, it has kung fu in it, and I just love this movie to death. And like I said, the Wachowskis wrote and directed once again. And of course, once again, Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, and Lawrence Fishburne are back as Neo, Morpheus, and Trinity. And especially the final, Hugo Weaving is also back as Mr. Smith. And we also have different actors like Jada Pinkett Smith. She was 9 months pregnant, and she actually tried to get the role for Trinity, but Carrie-Anne Moss that time won. But Jada Pinkett Smith, she got the role as I think was Niobe. She got the role for a different character. She was that time pregnant. And of course, Gloria Foster returns as Oracle. She passed away. She did a few scenes, then she passed away, the actress. And I love the first one and the second one. And this is to me an excellent sequel, but underrated. This movie is fucking underrated. It's underrated, and I will never understand the hate for this film. So the budget for this movie cost $150 million. It made worldwide $741 million. Which was a huge which was actually a huge box office success, but it got nothing but negative audience. The audience and the fans, they actually panned this movie down. It got nothing but negative reviews, critic reviews, and negative reviews. This was panned, from many of the people hate this film. They don't consider even a great sequel. They just hate it. They just only take the first movie, because the first movie was acceptable. The first movie won four Oscars. It was nominated for Academy Award. This movie got nothing. This movie was actually filmed back to back with The Matrix Revolutions, and this movie got nothing. The Wachowskis, they actually got a Stinker Award for the worst direction and a Razzie Award for worst direction. And this movie got nothing but a piss. Yes, it got a piss on it. And I love this movie to death. I mean, this is my favorite movie. This one, the first one, are my favorite. And I'm not sure which is my favorite, but it's definitely my favorite sequel. My favorite movie from Keanu Reeves. Because the first and the second one are epic in my opinion. And yeah, the movie was released in May 7, 2003, and that time, it was completely different to my young generation. I was still in high school that time, and it was completely different when this movie came out. And of course, this movie is supposed to be released in 2001, but Keanu Reeves' girlfriend, on April 2nd, she passed away. She was killed in a car crash and in a car accident. And Keanu Reeves lost the love of his life. Yes, he lost the love of his life, and he that time went absent from the movies for 2 years until 2003, when he returned to film this movie, The Matrix Reloaded. And I really mourn and I feel bad and sad for the actor, because Keanu Reeves is the most nicest actor you ever met. he did money for the charity. He did he gave away the money for the charity. There was a young beautiful girl. She broke into his house. She was naked, and he wasn't mean. He wasn't angry. He approached to the girl, and he talked her out because she was a fan. He talked to her until the cop shows up and arrested her. But he was a nice man. He's a nice guy. I just love the guy to death. I'm a huge fan of Keanu Reeves. I love Speed, the Matrix films, the John Wick films, and of course Constantine. I love to death. I love Street Kings, The Replacements, and of course I love his other movies. But I didn't see this movie in movie theater. I wish I saw this movie in movie theater, but that time I didn't. I wasn't interested. I saw the first one in movie theater. I wish I would see this one. But still, it's still a great film, in my opinion. I just love this movie to death. Adonis Davis return as the music composer. Still, the first one has better epic music score. But this one and the first one are just my favorite sequels. And before I go to the plot, because the plot to me is confusing, but this movie is actually this movie surpassed the budget and the box office. It surpassed the T2, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and T2, which is also a sequel to the first one, was even more successful than the first one. It won 4 Academy Awards. But the budget for the movie cost $102 million. This one cost $150 million. And the box office success was $521 million for T2. This one earned $741 million, which surpassed T2 by the box office. It's a rare sequel that surpassed the box office. But T2 actually was accepted. It won 4 Academy Awards. It considered one of the greatest science fiction action sequels of all time. This movie got a piss. It got nothing. This movie got shit on it. Got dragged to the mud. People just doesn't give a fuck about this movie. When the third one came out, the movie theaters are empty. No one cared about the third one. No one cared about this movie. This is my favorite sequel, and I love this movie to death. This one and Predator 2 are the most underrated sequels in my opinion. And T2 was accepted. This wasn't accepted. Predator 2 wasn't accepted. And those two are definitely my favorite sequels, and I love them really more. And you know what? I love The Matrix Reloaded more than T2. I will put Predator 2 and The Matrix Reloaded above T2 because I have nothing against the movie. I like the movie. It's a really, really good one sequel. I really like that movie. But I love this movie more. I love Predator 2 more. I love those two movies more. I love Demolition Man more than T2. And this is how the science fiction action movie is supposed to be. And I love this movie to death, man. I love this movie to death. And Anthony Zerbe is also this movie. He was in that movie Still Down, which I reviewed that film. He was in numerous movies. But this movie is kind of different because, like in the first movie, we heard about Zion, the city. This time we see Zion, how it looks like. And the Wachowski brothers, they did a fantastic job, direction. The special effects, the visual effects are great for the city, how they built, or for the ship, for the ship that Morpheus was driving. But at least we see the city, because in the first movie we don't see the city. In this movie we see the city. And honestly, I'll take even this movie over Star Wars. I love Star Wars, but I'll say this movie is my favorite. This is kind of how we do a movie. Now the plot is actually confusing to me. It's not that. No, it actually is confusing, the movie, to me. So I kind of did wrote down. But So yeah. So the sequel continues where the first movie left off. Human resistance are still fighting. They're still waging war against the machines, the Sentinels, and the machines who designed the Matrix, this program. The part of simulation who actually they designed this one to use our bodies, for the to serve for the energy source who used us as a prisoners, and the humans are still waging the war against the population. And of course we have, and of course this trio, they return. Neo, he has actually a dream. Neo, he has a dream that that Trinity, she gets killed by an agent. That Trinity, she gets killed by an agent. He has a dream, and they go to this meeting. He wakes up, and he's afraid that he's gonna lose her. Trinity says, "You're not gonna lose me." So they both go to, no, actually all three, they go to this meeting. And of course the agent shows up, and also Hugo Weaving as Agent Smith is back, and he's no longer an agent because he was destroyed in the first movie. That was really ballsy to return him. And like I said, this movie is also rated R, just like the first movie. And that's really ballsy, to return Mr. Smith. It was ballsy to return Agent Smith back, in the program. And Daniel Bernhardt shows up as Agent Johnson, and of course we have the other one, Matt McCall as Agent Thompson, and another Agent Jackson by David Kilt. Can't pronounce his last name. The three agents. And Daniel Bernhardt, he was in Bloodsport sequels. He also worked with Keanu Reeves on John Wick. Keanu Reeves also kills him in John Wick. And just like in the second movie, Morpheus, Lawrence Fishburne returned with Keanu Reeves in the second movie. But the first movie, Daniel Bernhardt was in this movie. I wish that he would be in this one. I still have the book someplace for the Matrix. But yes, the agents, the agents actually, they shows up, and Daniel Bernhardt is one of the agents, and he fights Neo, and he makes such a beautiful roundhouse kick, such a beautiful kick he does. Maybe, no, that's agents. I wish I would have actually on this picture, but Daniel Bernhardt is on this picture, but it's so small you barely can see it. But I wish I would have any picture of Daniel Bernhardt. But this is like the book, the sequel with Neo. But yeah, but it also wrote a lot of stuff right here, which I'll get more. But yes, Daniel Bernhardt is one of the agents who fights Neo, Keanu Reeves, and he has a great style in it. And of course, now they of course escape, and Neo he goes back from the ship because the war continues where they left off. And of course, Neo he thinks so wait, now Neo he goes, and so Neo he gets a call from Oracle, Gloria Foster. He gets a call from her, and she orders, she goes, and she actually goes and gives him a call that he needs him. So he goes back to Matrix simulations on this playground, and he talks to her, and she tells him, that he can end the war, and the prophecy who says that he's the one's gonna stop the war between humans and machines. And he actually gets this key, which actually this information, which he has to go and find this guy, this man who called a key key maker. He's actually the source. He's actually the one that can open the source to the door, the door to the van, which will end the war. And he needs the key. He needs the key maker. They need the key maker, so so now all of them, they go back to the Matrix. And I forgot to mention, there's a fight scene there, but I'll get into the action and fight scenes. I'll get into it. I'm just gonna go into the story, the plot. So so he gets those information. Oracle, of course, leaves him with Seraph, and he goes now. He actually goes now back to the ship, and they find out that this program, this Rogue program, Merovingian, has the key maker, and he holds him like a prisoner there. So they actually go to Merovingian to talk to him, and Oracle warned Neo. She warned him that he wants power, he's not gonna give him for free, and he wants, he wants power. They actually go to this to Merovingian, try to talk him out. The guy doesn't want to listen. He doesn't want to give him the program, the key maker. They meet Serafine. She played by Monica Bellucci. Yeah, that's her. And like I said, Monica Bellucci is so gorgeous in this movie. She was in Spectre, and I just love this movie because I love the soundtracks, the idea, the fantasy, the dystopian future in this movie. I just love this movie because of those reasons. And Monica Bellucci, she's so awesome, she's so great. And I love the character in this movie more than the third one, but she's so great, And she makes a deal that Neo gives her a kiss, a real kiss, because her husband, he's having an affair with other women. So Keanu goes and kisses her, but she says, forget it, the deal's off. But Keanu takes the shades off, says, wait, and he goes to gives her a real kiss. So she leads them to Keymaker. They actually go and they open this door, and there's one of those bodyguards from Merovingian, and she goes and kills him. One of those bodyguards from Merovingian, and and of course she goes and kills him. They go to Keymaker, and of course in the tea house, and not the tea house, and of course the Merovingian Slayer, a few guys shows up. You have a great fight scenes, and of course while Trinity and Morpheus, they go and they save the Keymaker. They go and they save Keymaker, which they escape, while Neo goes and defeats all Merovingian's henchmen, and he finds himself in the mountain, which he has to go and to rescue his friends and his girlfriend, while Trinity and Morpheus try to escape and save the Keymaker, which they do. They succeed. Don't worry, I'll get to the action scenes sooner, but I have to only go to the plot. So they all three. So by the finale, Neo, which he flies, he goes like a Superman. He flies. He grabs. He goes and he grabs both of them, Morpheus and Keymaker, while Trinity drives with a motorcycle. We see her in the first movie with the motorcycle. She drives away the motorcycle, and he saves both of them from the explosions. And and of course then they go to this power plant in which they can stop the war, and in which they all go to the power plant. They shut the power in it, so because it's security building, and they go to this power plant. And Morpheus and Neo, then with the Keymaker, they go and fight Mr. Smith, but Keymaker in the process gets killed. And of course he goes, and opens and of course Keymaker goes and opens the door to the swords, to the van. And when when he shows up, when actually, he shows up, that's actually the source to the one, which you can see all the televisions. That's the source to the one with Neo, and he finds the architect. He's the program who actually designed and created the Matrix. He's the one, and he tells him, that he created him, and yes, the architect. I think the actor who played the architect, I think I wrote somewhere down. I can't find the actor who was the architect. It was Helmut Bakaitis. He played the architect. He was actually Sean Connery was the role offered, but Sean Connery didn't understand did not understood the concept and the story about the film, so he rejected the idea. But Herman Bakatis, he played the architect. He was the one that designed the Matrix. He created the Matrix. And of course, that time when Neo finds out that when he told Trinity not to go into Matrix, she went anyway. He finds out that she's in danger when she gets shot. When she actually gets shot by an agent, Jackson. She gets shot by an agent Jackson. That's the scene. She gets shot by Agent Jackson. And and she gets shot, and of course Neo catches her like Superman. He goes, brings her down, and he puts the bullet out, and he says, "I'm not gonna let you die." He grabs her and he gives her life back. When Morpheus says, "Surely don't die on me," he brings her back, and of course. When they woke up, they go out from the simulation, from the Matrix, and a few sentinels, some machines are attacking, and Keanu, Neo finds out that he has this power, and he fills them, and he tells her out, use the hand, and destroy all the sentinels, but in the process he falls down he falls down and he lands in the coma. And that time they found Ian Bliss, who plays Bane, who was also Mr. Smith in it. They also find them, both of them. And then the movie, of course, ends with a beautiful soundtrack. And I'm trying to find that song. Zion, it was actually Come Like a Bomb, which was once again Rage Against the Machine, and POD Sleeping Awake. And also we have a Zion, which is actually a Zion fluke. We have a great dance on the Zion. We have great dance, and we have a great sex scene between Keanu Reeves and Carrie Moss. Carrie Moss did a great job as Trinity, and Keanu Reeves was fantastic. Morpheus was more badass than the first movie. He had more to do than he did in the first movie, but we have a great dance on it, a great soundtrack by Zion. And of course the martial arts. Now to the action scenes, the martial arts, we have a scene when Neo shows up in the Matrix and he meets the bodyguard. He also meets the bodyguard for Oracle. Sarah, played by Colin Chu. Jet Li was also offered the role, but Jet Li demanded the same payment as the same paycheck as Keanu Reeves, so they did not take him with him, so he did not got the role. Colin Chu got the role. Yuen Woo Ping once again choreographed the fight scenes. And the Thick House fight scene was epic. It was a great fight scene. Keanu Reeves was on a wire and with Colin Chu, and he fight. Yuen Ping, I watched a clip on YouTube. He commented how he did the fight scenes for Tea House, but that was just awesome fight scene in the Tea House. Tea House fight was excellent scene in my opinion, but the best fight scene that Yuen Woo Ping, who also directed Tiger Cage 2 with Donnie Yen, my favorite Hong Kong movie he did. But he choreographed the fight scenes in in actually in the Great Hall building, the Merovingian Slayer, which they also use weapons. The henchmen use weapons, and of course I forgot to mention Chad Stahelski, who directed John Wick trilogy. He was the stunt double for Keanu Reeves, which for most of the scenes, and the fight scenes. The fight scenes for the in the Merovingians building the layer, which was actually the tiger style, and the henchmen uses the weapons, was really excellent. Like Keanu Reeves uses his sidekick, great sidekick, kicks the guy falls and breaks the vase, breaks the statue, and the guy has like a weapon, like a long stick, and Keanu uses his leg and breaks the stick right in his face. He goes, he jumps, he jumps on the balcony, grabs two sides, fights two henchmen. The guy has like a shield and a spear in his hand, and Keanu stabs him with size, but he doesn't kill him. And he uses the sword, and he stabs the guy. He stabs this enemy, this henchman with a sword, and they both fall down through the balcony. The balcony breaks down. He lands and he stabs him and fights all those henchmen. Great choreography by Yuen Woo Ping. He uses like two sticks and fights them and kills the last one. I just love that scene. Lambert Wilson as Merovingian was excellent. I love his lines, mark my words, boy, mark them and mark them well. I survive your ancestors. I will survive you. And when Keanu goes after him, Merovingian escapes him, but he finds himself in the mountain. He goes and flies like a Superman, which I love that scene. Then there's a scene on the playground with Mr. Smith. It was actually 13 doubles. It took 10 days to shoot those scenes, which Keanu Reeves, who plays, and Chad Stahelski did a great job on The Wire. And Neo defeats fights 80 Smiths. He fights at least 80 Smiths. And it was actually 13 stuntmen which the special effects team they made and designed the makeup for Mr. Smith's face. So they used 13 doubles. The rest was CGI, which they created 80 clones, and Neo fights like 80 clones of Mr. Smith. They're like 80 clones, 80 clones on the playground, which is definitely my favorite scene. 80 clones on the playground, and they from all the sides they're punching him and attacking him. And he uses, he goes and uses great martial arts, and he uses that stick, and he pulls the stick and he goes around, and kicks everyone's face. He uses the long stick, kicks everyone, and then he flies and escapes them, like with the playground with Hugo Weaving as A.D. Smith was just fantastic. It was just great scenes, great action scenes. I mean, this movie fucking rocks. It's a great movie, in my opinion. Definitely my favorite sequel. I love this movie to death. I don't know which is my favorite part. The first one, because I saw in movie theater. This will be my second favorite movie, because I just love this movie to death. Yeah, the fight scenes are awesome. They're epic. They're fantastic, in my opinion. Then we have a Freeway Chase. The Freeway Chase, which I actually forgot to mention, but Morpheus in that movie is much better than that's the Freeway Chase. The whole movie, once again, was filmed in Australia, just like the first movie. And the filmmakers, they designed the Freeway Chase. The highway, they designed themselves. And they have a great great car chases, which I just love the car chases. They're great car chase. They're like Trinity and Morpheus by Karen Moss and Lawrence Fishburne in this parking garage. And there's those two ghosts. There are actually those two ghosts in it. I'll show you those two ghosts in it. Actually, I only have one, but those two twins, that's the ghost. Those two twins who are actually like exile program, and they are, they have ability to take non-corporeal form, that allows them to face through any solid matter, avoid gunfire and other weapons. They actually have that kind of form that they became invincible. They're like two ghosts, two twins, and they're actually those two twins, and I just love them, because they work for Merovingian. Merovingian stands after Trinity to get Keymaker back, and after Morpheus. And in the parking garage, one of the ghosts, he has the arm, and Trinity goes shoots him in the arm, and the other one, he becomes invincible, goes through the door, and he goes and fights Trinity. He even stabs Trinity, the great blood. You can see blood. Fuck, it look like for real. He cut her arm for real. That ghost. He cut Trinity's arm for real. And he took her as a hostage. Actually, he took Keymaker as a hostage. And I love when Morpheus goes shoots him with his Glock light. It shoots him, but he avoids any gunfire. And they go Trinity, Keymaker, and of course Morpheus. They go in the car. And they go actually the freeway chase, and both the ghosts, twins, they go to this car, chases them, like the twin, uses that automatic machine gun. I don't know if it was Hector the Cock, but submachine gun, and fires in the car. And then we have those two agents, we actually have those two agents, Agent Thompson and Agent Johnson, in the police car. And Agent Johnson, he goes, Daniel Bernhardt climbs on a police car, jumps on the car. He goes and he jumps on a car. He goes and he jumps on a car, and he lands on the roof. That scene, he destroys the great CGI. He destroys the car. Actually, for the freeway, for the highway chase, it was actually 300 vehicles they used, and all 300 vehicles were destroyed. All 300 cars were destroyed for this movie. But yeah, Daniel Bernhardt, for the police car, we have a police car chases for Trinity and for Morpheus and Keymaker, and he goes, and Daniel Bernhardt on the police car, he climbs on the police car, jumps with the car, different car, destroys the car, and jumps on the roof, takes the roof. There's also the ghost in the Morpheus in the car, starts fighting with them, and they use the gun, shoots at him, and Agent Johnson lands on the highway, which I love that scene there. There's Agent Thompson with the police car, goes with his semi-automatic pistol, 9mm, goes fires Trinity, but misses them. Keymaker and Trinity, and of course Keymaker and Trinity, they go on the motorcycle, and Carrie Moss, she performed her own stunt. She actually drive herself the motorcycle, and said I think that Jab was a stunt woman, but the rest she drive the motorcycle herself, which that was awesome. A lot of stunts. Keanu Reeves did almost 90% of his own stunts, just like Morpheus, and Trinity, Karen Moss, and Lawrence Fishburne, and with a few stunt doubles on the wire. And also Keanu Reeves, he said it was actually very hard to perform those fight scenes. He said it was very hard to perform those fight scenes. That he did more movie. It was more harder to film this movie than the first one, because it was shot back to back. 6 months later we got the third movie. No one cared. But the freeway chase is never my favorite scene. And of course those two ghosts, and I think there was a scene when Morpheus with a sword stabbed one of those twins, the ghost, he stabbed him, and he fought, and he says, he goes in the car with the other twin, and he says, "We are getting aggravated," and the other one says, "Yes, we are." And on the end of the road, Morpheus says to Trinity and Keymaker, get him out of here, and he goes with the sword. Those two trees tries to hit Morpheus. Morpheus jumps, he stabs the car, and he cuts the car. The car flips over, and he uses 9mm and fires and blows those sons of bitches to pieces. Great practical effect, great explosion, real explosion. The car explodes, and both the ghosts die. You know, they flies and the both die. And then he goes, you know, and of course when Agent Thompson is chasing the police car, with the police car chases Karen Boss and the Keymaker, they both turn around, they go back, you know, and he breaks the truck, you know, and Agent Thompson, he's on the truck, he breaks the truck, you know, and they use trucks just like they did in T2. They use trucks, and that's what I respect the stunt in this movie. And the Keymaker and Trinity, they flee with the motorcycle, they escape with the motorcycle, and they actually both escape with the motorcycle. They escape, and Morpheus is this truck, and he grabs Keymaker, pulls him out with the Keymaker. Trinity escapes, and that time, you know, there's this bridge. Agent Johnson, Daniel Bernhardt, he jumps, you know, and on the trailer, you know, the truck starts fighting with Morpheus. Morpheus takes the shades off because Lawrence Fishburne demanded that he took the shades off to look more realistic. He takes the shades off, starts fighting with him, and there's a scene there when he cuts with the sword. He cuts Agent Johnson right in the face, real blood. I mean, it looks like fucking real. It was like fucking real. He cuts him, and Daniel Bernhardt, he acted perfectly, like he didn't feel anything, but he really cuts him, you know. Or when Trinity drives the car, you see still a cut bruises on her arm, like look like for real. I mean, Ewan Pig was a madman. He was crazy, you know. This was like done for fucking real. And yeah, it was just great scene. And he fights off. He goes and fights off Agent Johnson. That time he kicks Agent Johnson with the scene when Niobe finds him. And both the trucks, you know, they both lands together. They both hit each other. And there's a great explosion, and both the agents get killed. You know, Agent Johnson, Agent Thompson, who crash with the trucks. You know, when Neo pulls Morpheus and Keymaker, you know, it saves them. They both explode, you know, both explode. It was such a great, epic highway chase scene. And let's see in this book if it's written how they did that. The car chase, that's my favorite. Car chase was my favorite. The fight scenes between Morpheus and Agent Johnson is awesome. How they did it, you know. The freeway chase, Oakland Street and Freeway, Unseen Material, Tour of Merovingian, Cargo Rush, Window Road. Great visual effects for the freeway chase. Freeway track chase, Tony of the shot, fate of the freeway action match. The freeway chase is the best of the movie. It's my favorite scenes. Everything the freeway chase, everything that's on the freeway is my favorite scene in the movie. That's one of the reasons this movie is epic. And much more than a first-rate action epic, we're in the rare territory where the sequel is triumph over the original. Richard Roper, Ebert and Roper. I'm not gonna say that this is better than the original, because the original is still my favorite, but the freeway chase, I recommend it. It's fantastic, great chase. Great stars, they like destroyed 300 cars, which is awesome. It's just awesome film. I mean, I really enjoyed this film. I'm sorry, but The Matrix Reloaded is my favorite sequel. I love the first one to death, and also the first is my favorite. Both of them are my favorite. Both of them are in my top 10 favorite Keanu Reeves movies. And I'll take this one, the first one, over the third one. I haven't seen the resurrection, will someday. But this movie I love to death. And like I said, the cast, Keanu Reeves was awesome. He did a great job. Carrie Moss, she broke her leg. Yes, she broke her leg. It took 6 months in the open scene when you see a great explosion. And she did. It took her 6 months till she did when she did perfectly scorpion kick. It took her 6 months. She broke her leg during the stunt scenes. Hugo Weaving was awesome as Agent Smith. You know, you, me, it's me too. I just love. He was awesome. Hugo Weaving was fantastic in my opinion. He was awesome. And I did actually make a notes. Like I said, Carrie Moss, she broke her leg training for a wire stunt. She did her own stunts. Lawrence Fishburne fractured arm in another training incident, and Hugo Weaving, you know, put out a disc in his neck while being pulled back on a wire. So yeah, Hugo Weaving, he put out a disc in his neck, which is very dangerous. You know, he could have died when he was pulled back on the wire. But like I said, Hugo Weaving, Keanu Reeves, even the stuntman for Chester Hesky did an awesome job. But the actresses, the cast, Jada Pinkett Smith did a great job as EOB, Henry Lennox as Captain Rockus in this movie, Ian Bliss plays Bane, who later gets in the Matrix shield by Mr. Smith in his form. The special effects are great. The direction, the visual effects are awesome in my opinion. Wachowskis, they knew how to do a movie. The music score by Don Davis. It was just awesome. By Don Davis are still awesome. And of course, Gloria Foster, rest in peace. She did a great job as Oracle. This is the last time we see Gloria Foster as Oracle. This movie is rated R. It's 2 hours and I think it's 18 minutes, just like the first one. But I love the first Matrix and the second one are my favorites. So rated R. You have great bloody scenes, great CGI, great colors. Freeway Chase, the best of the film, my favorite scene. The tea house fight scene, the playground fight scene. We have Yuan Pooping did a great choreography. Or Trinity uses 2 uses and fires on Agent Jackson. I mean, it's just badass film. I know it's another great sequel, another badass film, and I think it's fucking underrated. And it's just, this movie is just fucking underrated. You know, it's underrated. The first one is accepted. This wasn't. This movie just wasn't accepted. The first movie was accepted. This wasn't. You know, and I also love the songs for this movie. I also love. No, actually, it was 27 days to shot Smith and his close. Not 10 days, 27 days to shot. But Harold Perrineau as Linkus also did a good job in the film, which I forgot to mention. But I think he's more in this scene, Harold Perrineau as Link. And like I said, Monica Bellucci, I love Monica Bellucci as Persephone. She's Persephone. She's actually the wife of Merovingian. I love Monica Bellucci in this movie. I love the fantasy about this movie. I love the dystopian future, the world, and the fights against the machines. You know, I just love how the Wachowskis did that. You know, I enjoy this film. I love this film. The soundtracks, like I said, what the fuck? Calm Like a Bomb, Rage Against the Machine, once again, you know, just like they did in the first movie. Wake Up, they actually did. Wake Up, they did in the first movie. This time they did Calm Like a Bomb. I love that sound at the end of the movie. POD, Sleeping Awake. I just love, you know, Calm Like a Bomb is such a great soundtrack. The fantasy world, you know, with Monica Bellucci in it. It's just so great. It's so epic. in my opinion. I love that they go into Merovingian Slayer, or the explosion, this kick which took 6 months. Still, the actress perfectly did the scorpion kick 6 months. She had to train. She broke her leg here and once. She did a great job. Morpheus, he did a lot of stuff. He was like a badass, with a sword. I love that scene there with the sword when he goes and stabs one of those twins, or he stabs their SUV truck and uses there his 9mm Glock, boom, 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 shoots the explosion, great explosion. Car chase scene is awesome. I mean, this movie is a fantastic sequel in my opinion. If you haven't seen this movie, I recommend it. It's rated R, it's a great sequel. And like I said, Predator 2 and The Matrix Reloaded are my favorite sequels in the franchise. And I still love the first one, but maybe, I don't know, maybe this one I'll choose over the first one. Maybe this is my favorite. So both of them are my favorite, so I can't decide which is my favorite, because I love both of them. Both of them are my favorite movies for Keanu Reeves. And yeah, that's my review on The Matrix Reloaded. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and have a good day. Take care. I'm out. Bye bye.